Something in your spirit has already shifted. You feel it before you see it. The air around you is different, thinner, sharper, charged. That's not imagination. That's heaven tuning your frequency to match your destiny. The calling of your name in the spirit does not sound like the name people call you. It's not letters, it's vibration. It's the exact frequency God encoded into your soul before you ever touched the earth. And now, that frequency is ringing again, soft enough that flesh can miss it, loud enough that your spirit cannot ignore it. But here's the warning: most never hear it. They expect a trumpet in the sky when heaven moves. But heaven shifts quietly first. Long before circumstances change, the frequency changes. And if your inner dial is stuck on static fear, bitterness, distraction, you will miss the signal. Your name never sounds the same twice. The voice that called you into the wilderness is not the same voice calling you into victory. If you're not discerning, you'll mistake this promotion for a threat. Because the call rarely comes with comfort, it often comes disguised as disruption. An ending you didn't expect. A door slammed shut. A stripping away that leaves you breathless. But heaven's disruptions are not punishment, they are preparation. Only those in sync with divine timing can hear the name clearly. Run ahead of God, and it will sound faint. Lag behind him, and it will sound distorted. But walk in step, and the sound pierces every layer of your being. When God calls your name in the spirit, it is never just affirmation. It is an activation code, a download of new instructions for a new level of authority. It tells you where to stand, what to bind, what to release. It tells you who can come with you, and who must be left behind. But be warned, familiar spirits will try to mimic the sound. They will whisper invitations that look like opportunity, but lead to old bondage. If you don't test the spirit, you might answer the wrong voice. For some of you, that's why you've been waking in the night. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., not insomnia roll call. Heaven marking your presence in the roster of the awakened. And now, chosen one, hear this. Recognizing this call will determine your authority in the season that's already opening before you. If you hear but do not respond, you will walk into the new chapter unprepared. But if you hear and answer, heaven will not just bless you. Heaven will equip you to rule within it. Your season of victory is not coming. It's here, and your name is already echoing in the courts of heaven. Delay is not denial. It is the staging ground of heaven. The curtain stays closed, not because your scene isn't ready, but because the audience isn't yet seated. God will not reveal you until every witness, friend, and foe is in position. Your unveiling is not random. It is strategic. Heartbreak was not just pain, it was clearance. Every relationship that crumbled was a wall that would have blocked the wind of your promotion. Those who could not honor you in the valley would have poisoned your table on the mountain. The collapse cleared space for uncorrupted alliances. For those who will not secretly resent the glow that God is about to put on you. Betrayal was a backhanded prophecy. Only those who are a threat to darkness earn such targeted opposition. The enemy does not waste resources on the irrelevant. Your name was whispered in the enemy's war room because your life is a threat to his plans. That's why the knives came from the hands you once trusted. Every setback was a sharpening stone. You began to see motives, the way a surgeon sees hidden tumors. Delay taught you how to read eyes, not just words. Disappointment trained you to test the spirit behind the smile. So when your victory lands, no parasite can attach itself unnoticed. Your absence was a sermon. It preached louder than your presence ever could. When heaven hid you, the void you left began to speak. People noticed who stopped thriving when you weren't there. Your return will be a thunderclap in a room that forgot how to breathe without you. Heaven refused to give you a quick win, because quick wins are mistaken for luck. Instead, you were kept in a furnace where no applause could reach you. Unjust seasons became your forge. Now your credibility is not built on a moment, it's built on unshakable history. Pain stripped the costume off your faith. You stopped performing belief for the approval of the crowd. You anchored into God's reality instead of man's recognition. So when vindication comes, no one can say you manipulated it, it is undeniably from his hand. The wound you carry is not a weakness, it is evidence. The scar on your heart will testify louder than any speech. It proves you didn't fabricate your overcoming, you lived it. And the authenticity of that testimony will break chains off others. Delay gathered your enemies into one season. God stacked them like tinder around the altar of your life. When the fire falls, their collective defeat will be undeniable. They will know this was not your doing. This was the Lord's vengeance, and it is holy. And chosen one, hear this truth. Vindication without contrast is invisible. Without the long shadow of heartbreak, betrayal, and delay, the light of your victory would not blind the lies that were spoken over you. They thought they wrote the ending of your story. They thought the last chapter had already been published. But your rise has torn the page in half. And now, without saying a word, you are dismantling the false narrative they built about you. They said you were finished. They said you were weak. They said you'd never recover. And now they have no choice but to watch. Not in applause, but in silence. That silence is not peace. It's conviction. Because curiosity is never neutral. It is the quiet admission that something inside them is unsettled. Every time they check your steps, they are confessing without language that your awakening has disrupted their comfort. They monitor you, not for celebration, but for comparison. They measure your progress against the clock they've been wasting. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your movement highlights their stillness. And still, they look for cracks. They search your life for signs that this ascent is temporary. They need the comfort of believing it won't last, because if it lasts, they will have to confront the truth that the same God who raised you could have raised them, if only they had surrendered. But God will not let you be silenced. Your visibility is a living, breathing sermon. Without a microphone, without a stage, you have become an unignorable testimony. Your life is now the prophecy fulfilled, the one they can't walk away from without feeling its pull. And some of them, their watching is not innocent. There is a hunger in their eyes they'll never admit. A hunger for what you carry. A hunger for the oil that cost you nights of tears and years of warfare. But the cost terrifies them more than the calling excites them. Others watch as scouts for unseen opposition. Not every gaze is admiration. Some are gathering intel. Some are waiting for you to misstep so they can whisper it into the ears of those who still hope to see you fall. And yet, they keep their distance, because proximity would expose their motives. Light reveals what shadows conceal, and your light is too pure for their camouflage to survive. Your transformation has shifted spiritual borders. The ground you now occupy is no longer open to their intrusion. Watching you from a distance is the only way they can track the boundaries that they no longer have the right to cross. But here's the prophetic truth. Their obsession is not a threat. It's confirmation. It is heaven's way of telling you that your presence has become unavoidable, that your influence has crossed the threshold from optional to irreversible. They can't stop watching. They can't look away. And every hidden glance is proof. Your season of victory is not approaching. It's already here. The enemy has felt it before you've even named it. In the spiritual realm, your breakthrough is not a secret. It radiates a frequency so potent that every opposition force turns its head toward you. You wonder why the attacks spiked. Because they've already smelled the smoke of their own eviction. Darkness clings hardest when it knows the deadline has been signed. It is the last stand of an occupying force about to lose its ground. They don't fight because they can win, they fight because they have no choice. This is not random resistance. This is a prophetic warning that the eviction notice has already been posted in heaven. Pressure surrounds you now, not to break you, but to provoke you into quitting early. If the enemy can make you drop your sword one breath before the gate opens, he steals without touching the blessing itself. He can't stop it, but he can try to make you forfeit it. The war you're in is revealing what cannot cross into your next season. Certain attitudes will wither here. Certain habits will shatter here. Certain alliances will dissolve here. God is letting the heat flush out every contaminant before it poisons the promise. These final battles are not just to win the territory, they are to recalibrate your authority. Every strike you endure without surrender is an upgrade in your spiritual rank. When the victory lands, you won't just stand in it, you will govern it. Because you earned it in the unseen. Opposition has increased, not because you're losing, but because heaven's acceleration has outpaced the enemy's capacity to keep up. The chaos you see is camouflage. It is meant to make you think nothing is moving, while behind the veil, everything is aligning at breakneck speed in your favor. God is not sparing you the fight, because the fight is proof of your foundation. A blessing gained without resistance can crumble under its own weight. but what you're holding on to through warfare will be anchored so deep, no storm will ever uproot it. And while the battle rages, there is a hidden layer, angels clearing the path ahead, enemies stirring confusion behind. The turbulence you feel is the friction of heaven making way and hell losing grip, all at once. The closer you are to the fulfillment, the louder the opposition will howl. Their desperation is confirmation. The aggression is a backhanded prophecy that your word is alive and unstoppable. And when you step through this gate, after such visible, undeniable warfare, your victory will not be a quiet one. Heaven will make sure the testimony is public. So public that even your enemies will have to bear witness, and even the ones who secretly rooted against you will be forced to speak the truth. And now, heaven speaks in the language of the night. While the world sleeps, the spirit bypasses the gatekeepers of logic. No debate, no delay, just truth, carried straight into the deepest chambers of your being. Dreams slip past the resistance of your conscious mind. They enter through the back door, where doubt cannot intercept them. Heaven shows you what you might dismiss if revealed in the daylight. Because in the daylight, you would overthink it, question it, or explain it away. But in the night, when your defenses are down, the truth slides in like oil. And then there's that feeling you can't explain, déjà vu. That instant when you stand in a place, hear a voice, or touch a moment, and you know you've been here before. That is your spirit, recognizing a scene it already witnessed in the blueprints of heaven. It's a prophetic echo confirmation that you are aligned with the sequence God wrote before time began. Sometimes these dreams come dressed in symbols, not obvious, not literal, because heaven speaks in a code only your spirit understands. This protects the message from counterfeit interpretation. The enemy can't steal what he can't decode. And make no mistake, victory is always announced in heaven before it manifests on earth. Dreams and déjà vu are heaven's press releases, whispered to your soul, so it can prepare before your eyes see what's coming. You've been feeling the weight of something unseen because your spirit already knows the outcome. Notice the timing. These moments often appear in seasons of hidden transition, when the natural world is still silent, when nothing looks different, but heaven is already shifting the stage pieces in the background. Heaven loves to confirm authenticity through repetition, a symbol that reappears in different dreams, a moment of déjà vu that keeps coming back. This is not random, this is orchestration. Every repetition is a divine highlighter saying, "Pay attention, this is me." Sometimes, God lets you experience the victory scene in private first, like a rehearsal, so that when the moment arrives in public, you move with confidence instead of shock. You won't freeze under the lights, because you've already walked the scene in the spirit. Déjà vu also tells you this. You have not drifted from the narrow path. Even if circumstances feel uncertain, this moment proves you are still walking inside the coordinates heaven designed. The enemy can copy many things. He can mimic opportunity. He can disguise counterfeit voices. But there's one thing he cannot forge: peace. If the vision leaves you with holy stillness, if the dream fills you with a peace that passes all understanding, it's from God. And when these signs appear, understand this. You have reached the point of no return in destiny. There is no going back. The seal is already pressed in the courts of heaven. Your victory is not pending, it's permanent. Now, it's only a matter of when your eyes will catch up to what your spirit already knows. You fought wars no one knew about. Wars that left no visible scars, but restructured the entire battlefield of your soul. The war against unseen doubt. Those quiet hours when your mind whispered, "You're not enough." And yet, you never let those whispers take root. You guarded your thoughts like a watchman on the city wall, refusing entry to anything that did not sound like the voice of heaven. And when lies came wearing human faces, when accusations flew like poisoned arrows, you resisted the bait of public retaliation. You could have exposed them. You could have burned their name in the streets, but you chose restraint over revenge, showing heaven that you can hold authority without weaponizing it. You broke cycles in secret, habits no one knew you carried, gone. Chains no one knew were on your ankles, shattered. You walked away from hidden compromises that could have rotted your anointing from the inside. Even when no one was there to clap for you, you still chose obedience. And there were nights when quitting whispered louder than hope. Dry seasons, barren landscapes, prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and came back empty. Yet you stayed faithful. You kept moving when nothing moved for you. You learned endurance that lives beyond emotion. You guarded sacred assignments like a vault. There were things God told you that you didn't post, didn't preach, didn't leak. You knew premature exposure could invite sabotage. So you hid the seed until it was ready for the light. And you forgave without an apology. You unlocked people from your heart who never once tried to make it right. Not because they deserved it, but because you refused to be chained to a prison they were comfortable in. You chose integrity over quick elevation. Opportunities came, sparkling with promise, but soaked in compromise. You turned them down because you understood. Destiny built on corruption is just a fall waiting for its moment. You held your tongue when silence was the sharpest sword. You could have spoken a word that would wound. You could have aimed your truth like a spear. But instead, you let heaven speak for you. And heaven did. You prayed for those who opposed you. Not prayers for their downfall, but for their deliverance. That's why your heart is still light. Why bitterness never made a home in you. And you obeyed small, inconvenient instructions. Tiny tests that didn't look prophetic, but carried eternal weight. Tasks that seemed beneath you, but heaven was watching to see. Could you be trusted with more? Chosen one. This is why your season of victory has arrived. Because you won the battles no one applauded. You passed the tests no one posted about. And now, what was done in secret will be crowned in the open. Sometimes, heaven's first sign of your victory is not an open door, it's a closed one. Not a warm welcome, but a sudden removal. And if you judge it with natural eyes, you'll call it loss. But if you see it in the spirit, you'll recognize it for what it is: divine protection. Protection from sabotage you didn't even know was stalking you. They were close enough to smile, and close enough to strike. God saw the move before it was made, and without asking your permission, he shifted the pieces. Because his love is not sentimental, it's strategic. And here's the mystery: absence can accelerate your alignment. Without their weight, your pace picks up. Without their voice, heaven's whisper gets clearer. You start walking in step with the timing of God, without even realizing you were offbeat before. The route you're on was written for your calling, not their comfort. Some people can't handle the altitude you're going to. The air gets thin up here. Faith becomes oxygen. And God spares both of you the turbulence by letting them disembark early. Loyalty to God must outweigh loyalty to familiarity. The map in his hand is more accurate than the memories in your heart. So when the travel companions change overnight, you still keep moving. Because the one giving you directions never gets lost. Divine subtraction is not heaven being cruel. It's the prophetic sign of multiplication. Every empty space in your life is now available for the alliances heaven has been preparing in the background. People you haven't met yet. Connections that will carry weight in your next assignment. And without their presence, you start to uncover hidden reserves in yourself. Strength that was dormant under dependency. Courage that only comes when you have no one to lean on, but God. You realize the thing you thought you couldn't do alone. You've been doing, and doing well. God's pruning sharpens your vision. What was blurred by distraction now comes into focus. You see your mission clearer, and you see the obstacles ahead with prophetic accuracy. You're no longer swayed by noise, you're guided by signal. Not everyone has the endurance for your entire journey. Some were only assigned to a chapter. Keeping them past their expiration date delays both your destiny and theirs. Release is not rejection, it's obedience. Faith in the route is tested when the map changes mid-journey. It's one thing to follow God when the road is familiar. It's another to follow when the landmarks disappear. But trust matures when you obey without demanding full disclosure. And here's the prophetic comfort you will not be left lacking. The same God who ordered the removal has already arranged the replacement. Provision is not an afterthought, it's built into his plan. You may lose the person, but you will never lose the purpose. And what is coming will fit better than what was lost. They said you wouldn't make it. They whispered, they plotted, they bet on your silence. But here you are standing, breathing, winning. And every breath you take is a prophetic contradiction to their predictions. Your rise is not an accident. It is the living proof that their words had no roots. They tried to script your ending, but heaven rewrote the plot. The same ink they used to bury your name has now been turned into the ink that signs your promotion. Victory dismantles the illusion of their control. They thought they could press you down, but God was using their weight to strengthen your foundation. They thought they could starve your influence, but the wilderness became your training ground. And now they're learning too late that they never had the authority they believed they held over your destiny. Your visibility is their mirror. Every time you walk into a room, you pull them back to the moment they miscalculated you. They feel it in their bones, that prophetic sting of realizing the one they ignored has now outgrown the shadows they left you in. And here's the part they fear the most. Your story reveals their secrets without you saying a word. Your very existence uncovers the wrongs they committed. You don't have to point a finger. The light you carry does the exposing. Your elevation is not just personal, it's territorial. You are reclaiming spiritual ground they once thought was theirs to control. Every step you take redraws the boundary lines in the spirit. They can feel it. They know their influence is shrinking with every victory you walk in. Their fear is your confirmation. It is proof, pure and undeniable, that what you carry is shaking both the natural and spiritual realms. The discomfort they feel is the sound of strongholds breaking. And now, the tables have turned permanently. They can scheme, they can whisper, they can plan, but your victory has already sealed the ending. God has locked this chapter, and there is no erasing it. Your influence has slipped beyond their reach. The voice they once tried to silence now carries further than their own. Your name is being spoken in rooms they will never enter. Your story is touching hearts they will never influence. Your resilience erases every justification they ever made for your downfall. Every excuse, every lie, every twisted explanation now collapses under the weight of your undeniable triumph. And there's no denying it anymore. This is the hand of God. Not luck, not coincidence, not strategy. The same power that raised Lazarus from the dead has raised you from obscurity. The same voice that calmed the storm has silenced the winds that once raged against you. And now they see it. God's will cannot be resisted. Not by envy, not by betrayal, not by any hidden plan in darkness. Your victory has become the living proof of his unshakable decree. Joy is a spiritual frequency the enemy cannot counterfeit. Strength, he can mimic. He can dress pride up as courage. He can disguise force as boldness. But joy, true, unshakable joy, he cannot touch. Because joy that flows from God is not of this world. It's seated in eternity, watered by the Spirit, guarded by heaven itself. Joy thrives where strength should fail. When the trial should have broken you, you laughed. When the storm should have drowned you, you sang. When the betrayal should have silenced you, you praised. It wasn't denial. It wasn't ignorance. It was prophetic defiance. And every time you smiled in the valley, it shook hell's confidence in its own plan. Joy is the sign that the battle is already won in your spirit. Strength says, I'm still in the fight. Joy says, the fight is already over, and I know the ending. It's the difference between holding a sword in desperation and carrying a crown in peace. It's the knowing before the walls fall, before the chains break, that you're already standing in victory's shadow. The enemy feeds on despair, not defeat. He can't live off the fact that you lost a round. He lives off convincing you the war is over. But if he can't take your joy, he can't starve your hope. And hope is dangerous to darkness. Hope refuses to bow. Hope fuels persistence when every reason to quit is stacked against you. Joy is contagious. It multiplies your influence without you trying. In a room full of heaviness, one joyful spirit becomes a torch. People who have been living under a cloud for years feel something lift when you walk in. Not because you avoided the storm, but because you carry the proof that it cannot win. Strength can be exhausted. Even the most disciplined can burn out. But joy is renewable. It doesn't come from caffeine, applause, or adrenaline. It flows from an eternal well. Every time you return to God's presence, joy fills again, even if yesterday drained you dry. Joy anchors you to heaven's perspective. When the ground shakes beneath your feet, joy says, the throne of God is unshaken. It aligns your gaze with truth, not with fear. You stop reading the battlefield and start reading the victory report heaven already wrote. The enemy can weaponize your strength against you. He can twist determination into stubbornness. He can turn endurance into self-reliance. But joy? Joy keeps you surrendered. It keeps you light enough to be led, even in the middle of war. Joy is a prophetic announcement. It says, breakthrough is not on the way, it's already here. Before the bank account changes, before the diagnosis reverses, before the prodigal returns, joy declares the reality of heaven in the face of earth's delay. And when the enemy sees that his attacks can't shake your gladness, his strategy collapses, his weapons lose power, his voice loses influence. Because joy dismantles psychological warfare. And when you still praise, still dance, still sing in the night, hell realizes it has nothing left to bargain with. Victory concealed is victory diminished. When you hide what God has done, you reduce its power to set captives free. The testimony was never meant to stay in your chest, it was meant to echo. It was meant to ripple into the hearts of those still fighting battles you've already won. Do you not know? Silence starves the hungry. Public light exposes private deception. When your victory shines, it dismantles the false stories whispered in the dark. It forces the liars into the light they have always feared. The same mouths that once spoke death over you will have to taste their own words. This is not revenge, it is justice. It is the fulfillment of Luke 8:17. For nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed. Celebration is spiritual warfare. Your joy, unhidden and unapologetic, becomes a weapon. Every laugh, every smile, every praise you lift is a dagger into the heart of the enemy's plans. Because joy after battle is not just emotion, it's evidence. Evidence that the fire didn't consume you. Evidence that the storm couldn't sink you. Evidence that God was there the whole time. Your victory is not just for you. It is a strategic broadcast, a flare in the night sky to let others know that deliverance is possible, that chains can break, that graves can open, that the same God who lifted you will not hesitate to lift them. Light forces truth into the open. Lies can only live in shadow. When you step forward and shine, your very existence becomes a living rebuke to falsehood. You don't even have to call names, the light does the calling. But hear the warning. Silence can unintentionally validate the liar. If you hide what heaven has done, others may assume the enemy's version of your story is still true. Do not hand them that power. Your testimony carries prophetic authority. When you speak it, you are not just telling a story, you are releasing a decree. You are opening the gates for others to walk through. Revelation 12:11 declares, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Your word has weight. Visible victory redefines your identity in the public eye. They can no longer attach you to failure when the fruit of your triumph is undeniable. Your name will no longer be spoken in pity but in awe, not as the one who fell, but as the one who rose. And this blinding light, it is mercy and judgment in one. It invites the repentant to step forward, but leaves no shadow for unrepentant deceit to hide in. Letting the light shine is more than celebration, it is worship. It is honoring the one who wrote your comeback before your enemies wrote your downfall. To hide it is to dim the handiwork of heaven. To reveal it is to give God the glory he deserves. Chosen one, your season of victory has arrived.